Hello, my astrology friends. This is Lada from astrolada.com, and I'm here today with one of your favorite astrologer, Krasi, who will lead us through the months of June. Especially, she'll put an emphasis on the eclipses that are coming in June for each of the 12 signs. Hi, Krasi. Hello. Oh, I think Krasi might have dropped out. Just a second. Oh, her internet, I think, dropped for a second there. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the eclipses. Krasi will look at them through the Babylonian sidereal zodiac, and then she'll discuss how each of the two eclipses will affect each of the 12 signs through tropical and through sidereal zodiac. And by the way, those of you who don't know what tropical and sidereal zodiacs are, tropical is the zodiac that we use in the West that almost everyone knows. What is my sun sign? Oh, if you're born in July, it's most likely Cancer. And it's not based on the actual constellations. The tropical zodiac is based on the connection, on the solstices and equinoxes. It's more tied to the seasons themselves rather than to the actual constellations, but they happen to have the same names. While the sidereal, Babylonian, or Vedic zodiac, like it's all known, like sidereal, Babylonian, or Vedic, it is tied to the actual constellation, which also carry the same 12 names. And Krasi?
Yes, I'm sorry I had internet interruption, but I solved the problem. Okay. Yes, Wada, sorry about this.
Yeah, I was explaining to people the difference between tropical and sidereal zodiac. So Krasi will use both. So if you're a Westerner, you probably know your tropical signs better. If you're from the East, you probably know your actual constellations better. Okay.
Yes. Yes, hello everyone. Sorry for this interruption. So yes, we have very important month ahead. June is very important, not only because of the eclipses, but because of the retrograde planets, which is not bad actually. It depends on our perspective. Everything is dependent on our perspective. So eclipses, because this is the emphasis of the month, we have every year, so it's not a big deal. Usually, actually, eclipses we have from 2 to 7 per year. This year we have 6, which is describing the year as difficult. But this is not, there is nothing new that I'm telling you. We know that the year is difficult. So we will have 2 eclipses typically in the month of June, which is eclipse month where the eclipses are regularly happening. So one eclipse is happening on the 5th of June and another one on the 21st of June. And these 2 eclipses are, first we have the lunar eclipse, and always in approximately 4 weeks, the lunar eclipse is followed by the solar eclipse. What is interesting, of course, and people say, you know, in some ancient texts that the lunar eclipses more influence the people, though the solar eclipse more would have impact more on the royal power, on the people who are ruling us. We will see if this is true. But so yes, 2 eclipses are happening. Let me tell you 2 words about the, really very briefly, since since we will be talking about the 12 ascendants, just 2 words about the eclipses. So the first one is, I don't know if I should share screen, maybe not, because this is not the emphasis of our conversation. But the first one on 5th of June will be seen all over the world. It's not very, very scary because it is partial lunar. It's not completely covering. So this eclipse is taking the axis, sidereal axis of Scorpio, Taurus. And in this particular eclipse, Venus is also going to be eclipsed, darkened. And this is important consideration. Another important thing, what is Venus doing in the eclipse? I believe this is good, Wada, because it is worse malefic planet to be taking part in an eclipse. This is what I know from some Babylonian texts. It's really very bad malefic planet to participate. I would prefer to believe that Venus will be helping hand during this time, and Venus will be invisible anyway. We know that until approximately 10th, because it's a bit different from the different perspectives. Until 10th of June, she will not be visible. So also during the eclipse, of course, she will be, and this is happening in the 20th degrees of Taurus, degrees of Scorpio, in the vicinity of a money star, you know, in the vicinity of Aldebaran, also near Rigel. Actually, everything is money in Taurus, the axis Taurus Scorpio. So this will influence the money change. This may bring some change in the way the money is being used. I'm not sure what, but money will be affected for sure. Or change will introduce market corrections or something like that. But I like to think that Venus will bring some good. Yes, there is a square, a huge square, exact square. Moon, Mars, Neptune, Venus. So this is disharmonious and will more influence the people's emotions and fears, probably. People will feel insecure, will be afraid, which I'm saying because we shouldn't be. Because when we, there are no fears, anxieties, and worries with God. So it's like a challenge for us to wake up and find God. That's the thing, because this eclipse will heavily influence the emotions of people. Mm-hmm. That is for sure.
I don't think that actually the markets might dip again and crash or recession become more severe. You think actually Venus later on becoming visible around stars of money can actually correct the markets and stabilize them, but it will be accompanied by a lot of psychological stress. Okay.
That's the thing. I believe this will provoke fears. Neptune is there with Mars, a lot of illusions. And in this very moment, Mercury is visible with Rahu in Gemini. So in the same time, there will be awakening. There will be people who see through. You know something amazing Santos Bonacci said? My favorite Santos Bonacci. You know what he said? He said, it's not like before. If before the eclipses would be portals for darkness, now when we are at the door of the age of Aquarius, both for tropical and sidereal, we are about to be there. He said, it's different now because the eclipses now are a gate for angelic divinities to come and help. And I prefer to believe him.
So, wow. So that eclipses now.
That's beautiful, right?
Yeah. So now actually the divinities can work closer with humans during eclipse times. Because before,
and we should help them. Yeah. With our connection, with our awakening, we should help. The second eclipse, 2 words about this, and I will not go so much into eclipses. The second one is the solar. And the solar eclipse is, Mercury is there, will also be eclipsed. And here what I was thinking a lot about is that Mercury will be eclipsed in Sirius. Sirius is what? A star, you know, a very high spiritual divinities, if you want to. It's a very special star, you know, the star of Jesus, the star of being Sadun, of the White Brotherhood. And Mercury there will be eclipsed. So I believe that at the very same moment, Mars is in sidereal Pisces. This will be a special eclipse. And again, will be very much related to the awakening. Maybe people will have to make choices very much which spiritual path they're taking, because this is not a joke. We're talking about Sirius here.
Sirius is very spiritual star. Or actually, like Krasi said, some of the biggest spiritual teachers from the White Brotherhood. We're not talking Ku Klux Klan. We're talking the ones that want to uplift humanity rather than the ones that want to control it. They're born with Sirius prominent in their horoscope. And you said Jesus Christ. You said the star of Jesus Christ as well?
Yeah, it's believed, and being Sadunu is saying that Jesus is also coming from there.
Oh, okay. All right. So So Sirius and Mercury, it's part of this eclipse, and Mercury is going to be there. Mercury is information.
Yeah.
Is there, and it's like the information that we receive can influence us in a powerful way.
Very much. And you know what is also happening? The eclipse is happening in the Milky Way. Exactly. 5 degrees, 6 degrees. The Milky Way is in the 5th, but 6 degrees Gemini.
But the opposite side of the eclipse.
The exit. Exit.
The exit, yeah. So the entrance is at, I know it's tropical at 27 degrees Sagittarius, which would be 5 degrees Sagittarius sidereally, and at 5 degrees Gemini, or it's kind of
5 degrees Gemini.
Cancer. Yeah, it's kind of 0 degrees. The eclipse is happening at 0 degrees Cancer, which you say it's, yeah, it's the exit, the other side of the Milky Way, isn't it?
Yes, but it's still the Milky Way. We have Milky Way eclipsed. The whole axis was going to be influenced by this eclipse. So what is Milky Way? Millions of
very close eclipse. It's happening like full, like you see on the picture behind. It's not like partial, it goes dark full. Do you know where exactly it goes full?
No, I don't know exactly the geographical areas. This could be seen on the thing is, you know what? This eclipse, what is the Milky Way? First of all, you know that Bulgaria is ruled by the Milky Way, but this is another story. The Milky Way, with the billions of stars there, and Mercury is the prince. In Babylon, Mercury is the prince because he is the son of Jupiter, you know, he's the son of Marduk. I'm not sure, but we may see some political figures falling.
Oh my God, it's passing all over Asia, especially
everywhere,
Southern Asia, but it's covering Russia, it's covering Europe up to Eastern Europe, up to Central Europe, and it's covering most of Africa as well, especially the middle part. It's covering the Middle East fully as well. So these are the areas that, not the states, I don't see the states being affected. But anyway, probably, okay.
Mars is squaring the eclipse, not very good now, and Mars can be very destructive in Pisces, can bring waters, floods, what disasters, but it is another eclipse of awakening, people, and let's hope that the Milky Way will open for, you know, divinities that to come and, you know, like saviors, and also Sirius. Let's look this way at the eclipse, and then people should really do a lot. Everyone's prayer and spiritual awakening matters in this moment.
Beautifully said.
Yes, that's why I wanted especially to mention that the Milky Way and Sirius, it is not happening without a reason. Everything is coming with permission of the Creator, right? So this was just briefly, and then we know we have the retrograde planets. Venus will be retrograde until 26th of June, and she will be invisible from 30th of May until approximately 9th, 10th of June. People should know this because during the period of invisibility, well, it's not appropriate if we expect money to start initiatives during this period, or to get married, or to start relationships. Just have this in mind. This is something also very important. And now maybe I should start to talk ascendant per ascendant. Lada.
Yes. Carry on.
Yes. So we will start. Because I lost the internet, everything is starting again, my apologies. But we're starting, of course, with sidereal Aries, which is Aries moon or Aries ascendant, which is sidereal or tropical Taurus. Okay. Apologies for this. Okay. So what is happening, another interesting thing is that we had in the States, the first lunar crescent happened in Taurus. In Taurus, conjoined Venus. For Europe, it appeared in the point of the eclipse. What is this meaning? I think for Europe, it happened in the conjoined Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse, like some people name the star. I believe that the eclipse will be a bit more negative for Europe than for the States. So this is important to tell you. Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I'm answering people on the chat. They're saying, when is it not good to get married? And I said to Venus is invisible till the middle of June. And it's retrograde till the 25th, but that's according to ancient astrology, not as bad. I mean, my mom and my dad, I checked their wedding day. They were both married during Mercury and Venus retrograde. They're still together 40 years.
Retrograde is not bad. Invisible is bad. I've seen very.
Yeah.
I think that the retrograde Venus in the horoscope can give very interesting results and absolutely not bad results. I noticed that.
Like what?
So people should. Retrograde Venus I've seen in charts of people who are married, who have good marriages and who are wealthy. I believe that when a benefic planet is retrograde, it's not such a big deal. You can see retrograde Jupiter in the horoscopes of really very achieved people.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and actually,
so this is not a big deal. Big deal is Venus invisible.
Yeah, in Vedic astrology, a planet is weakest when it's invisible as well, which means conjunct the sun. When it was retrograde, it was considered to have strength because to be proud, actually. They called it proud because the planet is much closer to Earth. So its influence on Earth is way more powerful. And a person who has a retrograde planet tends to, throughout their later, at least in life, to be very confident of the qualities that this planet represents and to display it in an almost proud way, something like that. So anyway.
It makes sense. The only thing that I may disagree is that Saturn retrograde is good, like the Vedics say, because Saturn retrograde is not necessarily good, but it's another story.
It's 3 times stronger, Saturn, again, because it's closer to Earth.
Yes, it's even more. Yeah. So let's start. So we're talking about Aries, sidereal, or Moon in Aries, or Taurus. If you're following the tropical astrology. So what we're having here is that Aries, the ascendant ruler, is in the 11th house, which is for people who have Aries ascendant, the house of the good spirit, which is quite good placement. Actually, this will be for the first 15 days of the month. After that, Aries is for the first 10 days. After that, Aries is entering Pisces, which will be your 12th house, which is not very harmonious, can make you a bit too emotional, can make you a bit melancholic. But if you know it, you will not allow such conditions. In the very same moment, for the whole month, you are going to have the retrograde Jupiter and Saturn on your 10th house. Even though this is only a transit, this is for sure bringing career changes already, or changes in the area of plans. This is something that is happening very, very possibly for most of the people who have Aries sidereal or Taurus tropical ascendant. So Jupiter and Saturn in the 10th house are important transits. This is not just a transit that will pass. This is something important, and it is bringing, for some, the change may happen in the beginning a bit disharmoniously, but for sure it will end up good. Another thing is in the Sun and the invisible Venus, invisible until we said only 10th of June, but all the time will be in Taurus in the 2nd house. Is good for the incomes. Is a good money, can create good money opportunities. In the very same moment for the same ascendant, we have Mercury in the 3rd house, and Mercury in the 3rd house is visible. And this is brilliant for negotiations, even for travel, even for some media plans. So the month for people with ascendant Aries is very fine. A bit disharmonious can be the period after Mars enters the 12th house. But apart from that, you can have interesting changes and moments of spiritual awakening, which will influence your work. And now we'll be looking at ascendant Taurus or Moon in Taurus for the sidereal zodiac, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be Gemini. So what is happening until the end of the month, even until end of July, Venus, your ascendant ruler, is on your ascendant with the sun. This is brilliant. This must give you a sense of joy, blessing, good luck. For sure you will feel this because Venus is Venus. Yes, Venus will go through different stages. In the month of June, will become invisible for 10 days. Well, during these 10 days invisibility until 10th of June, you may feel you may feel like, yeah, Venus, you may miss Venus, so to say. Jupiter and Saturn from your 9th house will create harmonious aspect of awakening. This may change your plans, even career plans, but also education plans, can put your consciousness and philosophical and belief system totally on another level for good. Mars is not very harmonious on your 10th house. He can create disturbances career-wise. And in the second part of the month on your 11th house in Pisces, he also can be a bit disharmonious. Keep this in mind. Just use your intuition and be very diplomatic when it comes to work, friendships, plans. But apart from that, Mercury visible on your 2nd house in Gemini is something very good. There he will bring different financial opportunities. So also for Ascendant Taurus, I believe the month look very, very interesting. Now the eclipse will happen on the axis of your ascendant descendant. So wait for important new initiatives. Wait until the month, until you see the next new moon. Wait until this a bit tense and complex period passes. So month of June may not be very appropriate for you for new beginnings. But apart from that, for maintaining the status quo, the month is good. And now we're looking at ascendant Gemini. And moon in Gemini, sidereal. If you're following the modern tropical zodiac, then you will be following ascendant Cancer. What is happening is that this month, Mercury became visible on your ascendant, where he is ruling your ascendant, and this is something very special. This can give you new ideas, muse to study, to create, to travel, to negotiate, just whatever Mercury means in your own horoscope. But he can give you financial opportunities as well, ideas. It's a very good thing, Mercury, to become visible in his own place on your ascendant. He can make you really, he can give you a sense of creativity as well. Mars is trining Mercury until mid of the month, which is good. These are good creative energies. But when he enters your 10th house around mid of June, he can bring these harmonies at work, and he can create also disturbances and worries. Keep this in mind and do not allow it. It's just a temporary process. Jupiter and Saturn are retrograde on your 8th house, and this is awakening. Can be interesting in changing for your incomes or incomes that you receive through partnerships or the incomes of your partner. On the other hand, Venus will be up until end of July on your 8th house, and this could bring opportunities for healing. Can be or winning over enemies, for example. So in this sense, this is good. Another thing is that the second eclipse, the solar eclipse in the month of June 21st is happening on the axis of your ascendant descendant. So also for you, is good really to be careful, not to make new initiatives. Don't watch the eclipse. If you want to start something new, wait until you see the next new moon. Then at least these energies will be cleared out. And now we'll be looking at ascendant Cancer, sidereal Cancer, or moon in sidereal Cancer, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be ascendant Leo. So what is happening with you is you having Jupiter and Saturn retrograde on your descendant. This is probably already introducing some changes related to your plans, to your partnerships, even changes in your private and romantic life. They're not necessarily bad, but there are changes. You probably feel different energies entering. Just remain very intuitive, connected with, you know, with God. And all this can have very harmonious direction, actually, because in this very moment, Venus is also creating harmonious trine. Venus is on your 11th house, where she's really supporting you. Yes, for 10 days she will be gone, invisible, which is not very supportive, but actually can be very romantic and emotional if you perceive Venus this way. On your 11th house, she's good for the gains, for your money, for your friendships, for relationship with children, for many things. She's very positive because she's aspecting your ascendant, aspecting your 7th house. So she will be helping you, even though there are new energies introduced on your 7th house of your partnerships, of your romantic life. Mars in the middle of the month will enter your 9th house, from where he will be a bit disharmonious. He will be not very positive when it comes to travel and communication, but you're very intuitive. You are intuitive enough to find the right, to have the right approach. Just keep in mind that Mars may not be very harmonious on your 9th house when it comes to in the month of June, when it comes to communication, travel, negotiations. Apart from that, remember that Venus is, will be saving you with this small exception of 10 days, 30 May to 10th of June. And now we're looking at sidereal Leo or moon in Leo, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be Virgo ascendant tropical. So for Leo ascendant, this month Venus is on your 10th house with the sun, which actually came, even though Venus is retrograde, but we spoke in the beginning with Lada that this is not a bad thing at all. Venus just can't be bad, I believe. So Venus is on your 10th house with the sun, and this is something positive. So this will bring you career opportunities, financial opportunities, good for your plans. Also from the 10th house, she is aspecting the whole horoscope, so it can be good in general. Mars will leave your descendants mid-June, and this is good. Probably Mars on your descendant created different disharmonies in your romantic life as well. In your 8th house, also he will not be very harmonious, but when he's not on axis, I believe his influences will be a little bit less disharmonious, so to say. But Mars on your 8th house would say that still you should be a bit careful, responsible for your health. And this could be interesting and very active for the finances of your partner or finances that come through partnerships. Probably you are very, very busy because Jupiter and Saturn are retrograde on your 6th house, and maybe this creates lots of activities, not necessarily financially superb, but there will be a lot happening on your 6th house, busy schedule. Yes, Venus will be helping financially on the other hand, for sure. On your 11th house, the first visibility of Mercury is something good, good for your plans, good for the gains. So if your midheaven is passing through the 10th and the 4th houses, which is Taurus, Scorpio, sidereal, then the eclipses may influence you. This would say if you're planning important initiatives, better wait for the next new moon to arrive so that you forget about these energies of the eclipse. Even though the eclipses can influence for up to 1 year, still it is appropriate to wait a while and not to start new initiatives. In any case, the fact that Venus will be on your 10th house for until end of July is something positive and will be saving you from from any trouble. And now we're looking at sidereal ascendant or moon in Virgo or tropical Libra. Now your ascendant ruler is very nicely visible on your 10th house, Mercury visible on your 10th house with Rahu, creative energies of communication, of knowledge. This is very beautiful. And also Venus and the Sun are trining your ascendant from your 9th house. Again, wonderful for knowledge, possibilities to travel maybe, but Venus will be invisible, like we said, from 30th of May approximately until 10th of June. During this period, well, you may lack her blessing, miss her blessing, and that is why during this period, do as less as possible new initiatives. In the same moment, Jupiter and Saturn are retrograde on your 5th house. And actually, the 5th house is also related to creativity. And this can bring you back to this period while, for example, Saturn was on your 4th house in the sign of Sagittarius, very spiritual placement, and can be very interesting, can bring you good energies to study, to expand your knowledge related to new philosophies, new belief systems, awakening. So all this can be something actually very nice, also because the 5th house is the house of the good fortune and can even be positive for your incomes. Mars in the middle of June will enter your 7th house where he may create disturbances. Therefore, be loving, patient, diplomatic to pass this period in a very as harmoniously as you can. And remember, Venus will be trying in your ascendant. She'll be saving you from any trouble for good. And now we'll be looking at ascendant Libra or moon in Libra sidereal or tropical Scorpio. Now, Venus, your ascendant ruler, is on your 8th house. This is not brilliant because from your 8th house, you're not directly experiencing the aspect, the blessing of Venus, but this can be fine for the finances that arrive through partnerships or the finances of the partner, of your partner, or can be good for your health, can bring some healing, or can be good for you desiring to go deeper into the secret and occult knowledge. On the other hand, Mercury became visible on your 9th house, where he is aspecting by trine the ascendant. This is brilliant for knowledge, even can give you commercial travel opportunities, knowledge opportunities, information, and this is very nice. Jupiter and Saturn retrograde on your 4th house. Well, this is interesting because they are squaring the ascendant, squaring the descendant. They can be already introducing changes at work, in your home. They are for sure introducing changes, reshaping completely your career, and with this also your home. So probably you're already into a transformational phase in both directions. But it is not bad because Libra ascendant loves Saturn, so it can be bad, I believe. Of course, it would depend how the planets are placed in your natal chart. And the good thing is, the good news is that Venus is creating harmonious trine. In middle of June, Mars will enter your 6th house. This would say, stay away from conflicts, be patient with people, and diplomatic with people that you work with, that you share your routine environment, and also be responsible for your health. And let's see ascendant Scorpio or moon in Scorpio sidereal, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be tropical ascendant or moon in Sagittarius. So what is happening is your ascendant ruler is until mid-June on your 4th house. This is not very harmonious. Probably month of June when Mars enters your 5th house, probably it's also not very harmonious because Mars in Pisces can be a bit destructive, can influence your emotions. Therefore, be very spiritual, do spiritual practices, because Pisces is all about this, to avoid the destructive energies, emotional impact of Mars in Pisces. So this is important. Just choose the way to practice spiritual activities so that you don't really feel these very unpredictable emotional influences of Mars. On the other hand, Venus will be helping. She'll be creating harmonious sextile. She's on your 7th house, which is very good for your romantic life. When Venus becomes invisible from 30th to 10th of June, this period of time, you may be missing her in your romantic life. She may not be very supportive, but actually she can also be very romantic when she's invisible. In the very same moment, Mercury is on your 8th house where he became visible. Maybe this will open door to information, secrets of the occult, can open your eyes further to awakening. So this can be something very good, can be fine for the finances of for the incomes of the partner, incomes through partnerships. Just be a bit responsible for your health with displacement of Mars, especially when you're very emotional. Just meditate or just do some good spiritual practices. Jupiter and Saturn on your 3rd house are good for your, again, for the spiritual awakening, for your for knowledge, for Jupiter and Saturn on the 3rd house actually are very well placed when it comes to information, knowledge, new education. They can be totally reshaping your even relationships with siblings, for example, and can bring a lot of knowledge into your life. Apart from that, the savior for you in a very, very good sense is Venus on the 7th house, which is really playing very important role in the month of June. And let's see Ascendant Sagittarius or Moon in Sagittarius. And if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be Capricorn. For you, just to say that the 2nd eclipse on 21st of June is a little bit afflicting you. Therefore, if you have important initiatives to undertake, wait until you see the next new moon, just to dissolve a little bit the energies of the eclipse. Your ascendant ruler is on the 2nd house with Saturn. And actually, this is interesting. This can be positive for the finances. Or in the very same moment, you're having Mercury, who became visible on your 7th house, again, can bring some benefits that would come either through partnerships or can create communication opportunities to solve issues, let's say, if you had issues with your partner. Venus is on your 6th house with the Sun, where she'll be all the month of June to bring healing, communication opportunities, and to fix issues and conflicts, for example, with subordinates. So Venus can have very good impact on your 6th house. In mid of June, Mars will enter your 4th house. Be a bit diplomatic and cautious at work and at home during this period. And in general, avoid new initiatives during the month of June due to the eclipse period. But apart from that, I believe that financially you will be okay, and you will also have healing opportunities. And now we'll be looking at Ascendant Capricorn or Moon in Capricorn sidereal, or if you're looking at the tropical astrology, you will have Ascendant Aquarius. Now, Jupiter and Saturn are retrograde on your ascendant. And this is a big deal. This is very important. And probably you're experiencing a change in almost any level of your life, like change of your plans. Maybe you're achieving what you wanted to achieve. It is just change. How exactly this will manifest will really depend on the placement of Saturn in particular, and also the placement of Jupiter on your natal chart. But I'm sure that Jupiter, Saturn on the ascendant is a serious stuff, and this is creating change in your life. And look at this from a very positive angle. Venus on your 5th house is aspecting the ascendant, and so will be until end of July. So Venus is having a very positive impact for your private and romantic life, can bring you muse to create beautiful art if you want, can be good for the gains and the incomes. Even Jupiter, Saturn on the ascendant can be very good for your incomes. And Mercury on the 6th house is very interesting because he's visible. He's in his own kingdom in Gemini. And when he became visible on your 6th house, this can create opportunities to communicate, negotiate with people that you had conflict with, can bring information related to healing and solving problems, can bring information related to enemies if you want. He can bring a lot in your 6th house, can make your routine life very busy because you know he's the messenger, fast messenger on your 6th house. So you may receive interesting message related to your routine, everyday work environment. So Mars, who is on your 2nd house, where probably he's influencing your finances in a very fiery way, but also very intellectual. On the 3rd, in mid of June, he will enter your 3rd house, where he's not very harmonious. Also not very harmonious communication-wise. He can be a bit disharmonious. Therefore, this period is not so appropriate for negotiations and travel. Keep this in mind. But apart from that, the month is very interesting and good for you. And now we're looking at ascendant Aquarius, sidereal, or moon in Aquarius, or this will be tropical Pisces. Now for you, your ascendant ruler is with Jupiter. Saturn and Jupiter are on your 12th house, where Saturn will be for the entire period of 2.5 years. Half year is already gone. But when the ascendant ruler is in the 12th house, people are going through interesting changes. They could go through desire for solitude, when they would be, let's say, contemplating, or they would be desiring to explore temples and secret sciences. Maybe they go through interesting awakening fast. They could see interesting dreams. 12th house is being activated. This is a fact. Jupiter there is positive. He can create healing. He can create, Jupiter and Saturn on the 12th house can create opportunities to win over enemies, for example, also. In the same moment, Mars is on your ascendant until mid of June. He will enter Pisces mid-June, and this is not very harmonious, but it will be better that he leaves your ascendant, because now he's creating different disharmonies. You probably feel this. But Venus is helping. On your 4th house, she will be there for quite some time until end of June. July, Venus is supporting your home, your work, your well-being, so she has a very good role as usual. Mercury on your 5th house became visible in Gemini. He's visible in his own kingdom. And in your 5th house, he can bring information, desire to go into creative knowledge. He can have very positive role for your creativity, exploring design and artwork. So this appearance of Mercury can be also positive for the incomes. Just be a bit cautious and don't fall into risky situations because of Mars on the ascendant, at least until mid-June. And now we're looking at ascendant Pisces or moon in Pisces sidereal, or if you're looking at the modern tropical astrology, this will be ascendant Aries as tropical. So for Pisces, your ascendant ruler on the 11th house with Saturn is interesting. Now, yes, Jupiter is fallen, not very much at home in the sign of Capricorn, but Jupiter and Saturn together can create very powerful energies. And in the 11th house, this can be good for the incomes, but it would depend, of course, how Saturn and Jupiter are placed in your own natal chart. However, this is interesting. Maybe good for the gains, even though they're retrograde still. And also they, in your 11th house, they can reshape your plans, your friendships. They can even impact your work and incomes, just everything. In the very same moment, Venus is visible on your 3rd house, She will turn invisible for 10 days from 30th of May until 10th of June approximately. Only during this period you will be missing her, but in the third house, even if she is gone, she can still be very esoteric, very, excuse me, very deep. So on your third house, Venus can be positive for communication, travel, can create opportunities for studies and negotiations, opportunities to fix, if needed, relationships with siblings. Mercury became visible in your fourth house, and from there he can influence your communication. He can influence because he's a ruler of your fourth house. So his appearance there is fine. Can bring information, knowledge, desire to study at home. Can be very supportive also career-wise, because he will bring you the right information most probably. In middle of June, Mars will enter your ascendant, and this is period which is not very disharmonious, because then he will be squaring Mercury. This is a not very harmonious period. So be a bit, this can influence your emotions a bit too much. So be very spiritual, practice some spiritual activities, meditate. And because this is what Pisces is all about, use your intuition. And actually you can benefit from these energies instead of feeling them harming you. Also, yes, the Jupiter-Saturn harmoniously aspect your ascendant. So this way you're feeling their influences, which are already reshaping probably, like we said in the beginning, your work, your friendships, your gains, a lot. So also for you, a lot is happening, but so it is for each one of us. But even though this is month with eclipses, Lada, I believe it won't be bad. I would rather believe what Santos Bonacci is saying, that this is a portal for angelic divinities to enter.
Amen.
Let's see. Amen, yeah.
Thank you so much, Krasi.
Pleasure, Lada.
Thank you. Always you're very good. You go through them so fast. And you give us so much information. People are writing beautiful comments. And
thank you everyone. I don't see them, but I will read them later.
Thank you, Krasi. Have a wonderful June month ahead. Let this portal of angelic and divine influences,
hopefully,
that's how, let it flood us in this way for the truth, for spiritual awakening. And may God bless the whole world in those times. Thank you.